Sean, in the 1940s, Sligo was a long way from Glasgow, so how did you hear about Celtic?
Well, I heard about Celtic initially from my dad. He was in the 1418 war, and at the Darnells he got a wound, shoulder wound, and he was invalided to Glasgow. And during a series of operations on his shoulder, he used to go and see Celtic. And he was telling me about Celtic, and he also had a book. It was the Brother Walford story. And it was only then, you know, through conversing with my dad, the news he was giving me and reading the book, that I discovered that Celtic had been started by a Sligo man. It was started for charity, I read in the book, and his name was Brother Walford. His own name was Andrew Cairns from Ballymore, County Sligo. So needless to say, I had a great feeling for Celtic when I read about this.
And then a few years later, after you had moved to play for Glenavon, you were playing for the Irish League against the League of Ireland?
Correct, yeah. On St Patrick's Day, used to play the League of Ireland. And there was a typical game on Easter Monday in Belfast. But after the St Patrick's Day game, I was approached by Fulham, Huddersfield and Celtic, and see what I signed for them. And of course, Fulham and Huddersfield had no chance once Celtic were there, because I'd have signed for Celtic for nothing. In fact, I very near did. Mr McGrory, he was a great Celt, Mr McGrory, and I had read about him, and he approached me after the game, and he offered me £8, I always remember. And at that time, I was a four-man confectioner in Philbin's bakery in Lurgan. And I used to do wedding cake stuff like that, you know, artistic stuff. And I was earning £7, 10 shillings, which it was at that time, plus my football money. So I explained this to Mr McGrory. So he says, well, I could get you £2 more. But I actually lost money signing with Celtic. But it was a dream, and you can't buy a dream.
Not at all.
So this was me realising that dream.
I've always remembered a story you once told me. You had a most interesting trip across the first time you travelled to Glasgow.
I certainly did. I went by train to Belfast to get the boat to Glasgow. I was told that there'd be a member of the Celtic Football Club meeting me there. It turned out to be Charles Patrick Tully, with a great name, and because Celtic was in the doldrums, I was told, when Charlie joined them, and he got the club a great lift. But Charlie anyway met me on the boat and introduced himself and invited me down for a drink, and so I went with him, and says he, well, Sean, what are you having now? I say, I'll have a lemonade. What? Oh, jeez, I'm not buying a lemonade. Well, I don't drink. Oh, jeez, you're not one of those guys, says Charlie. Say, unfortunately, I am. Or maybe fortunate. Maybe I'm fortunate. But Charlie liked his bottle of beer. And had a great meeting with him, and he was telling me all about Celtic, different players. And I didn't realise at that time that Tully had been was a great name with Celtic Football Club and the Spectators, because it transpired that the club was actually in the doldrums when Charlie joined them. But he got them a great lift. And he's a great guy, Charlie. Wonderful player, great skill, great balance on the ball.
And how many lemonades did you have on the way across?
Oh, jeez, lemonades. I must have drank about 5 or 6 lemonades. And God, I swelled up. I swelled up, and God, it took me a couple of weeks to get over all that particular night.
Now, it wasn't long before you made your first team debut. That was against Clyde in the last match of the 50-51 season, and I believe you had an OG?
It certainly was, yes. I had an OG. I nearly died. First game with Celtic, and there I was scoring against them. However, I got over that, and we went, I think it's 1950, it was Holy Year. And they brought me to Rome with them that year. We met His Holiness the Pope, and there I was like, I couldn't get back to Sligo quick enough to tell them all that, geez, I met the Pope, met the big man himself.
Now, the following year, you were a regular team through 1950-51. At the end of that season, you played in your first Scottish Cup final, and even better than that, you won against Motherwell. What do you remember of the occasion?
I was playing against a very good winger, a chap called Aikenhead, Johnny Aikenhead. Very at ex-Queen's Park. He had joined, went professional with Motherwell, and very clever on the ball. And unfortunately, I rumbled him up a wee bit, because I said to myself, well, I'm not going to be following this guy for an hour and a half. But he was a great friend of mine, actually. He turned out to be a great friend, but he was a good player, a good winger. Played with Scotland.
Must have been a bit of a dream, mind you. You know, the previous season you just joined the club, and a year later, you know, something that not every player gets is a cup winner's medal.
It was a dream, but I never thought that it'd be accomplished with a medal. And I couldn't get back to Sligo quick enough to tell them, oh, look at that, look what I've won already. Scottish Cup badge, Scottish Cup medal.
And then the club took a trip to North America that summer.
That's correct, yes.
Cheers, here's to you and me. Baby, can't you see? We can win the day, show the way. We've got the world before us. We're gonna be rich, not for us. Don't be a brontosaurus. Go to it, we can do it. Cheers, we should make a toast. I'm not one to boast, but we can be the best. East or west, we've got whatever it takes. We'll make our own lucky breaks. Cheers, here's to you and me.
And as soon as you were back, of course, Sean, you took part in the St Mungo Cup, and in the final of that tournament you scored a couple of goals, but you were at centre forward.
I was at centre forward. They moved me up centre forward.
Why?
I don't know, maybe because they weren't scoring goals. But I managed to score 2 in the final.
And then the following season you had some injuries which kept you out of things a wee bit, and you missed the Coronation Cup.
I missed the Coronation Cup, yeah, surely. I had broke my arm and collarbone, and needless to say, I was out of the team. So I watched the final, you know, and God, it wasn't a sad day for me. I was delighted, you know, that Celtic won that Coronation Cup, because you had the 4 top teams in England against the 4 top teams in Scotland. And I was delighted to see Celtic come out on top.
But although you had some injury problems, you managed a year later again, the final of the Scottish Cup. You came back for some league matches, and then against Aberdeen in the final, you were again at centre forward.
That was 54.
54, yeah.
54, that's right. I was lucky enough to score the winning goal in the cup final. And of course, needless to say, when the cup final used to be played at the end of the season, and of course, immediately after the cup final, it was Tully, Peacock and myself. We couldn't get onto the boat quick enough to get home, you know, the close season, because we'd worked hard during the season. And I couldn't get home quick enough to Sligo. And God, there was a band meeting me in Sligo. Sean Fallon, he scored a winning goal, Scottish Cup final. And it was a band meeting, and the mayor met me, and oh God, you'd imagine it was a film star.
Once again, Hampden Park is the setting for the most important date in Scotland's soccer calendar, the Cup Final. Celtic in hoop jerseys kick off against Aberdeen. 134,000 ticket holders watch goalie Martin deal with a Celtic attack. Aberdeen take over. Young Jim Clooney is substitute for the injured Joe O'Neill. Celtic hold firm, and soon their right wing is on the move. Clooney, number 10, drops back to help out as danger threatens. Another forward, Hamilton, is there to help clear the Aberdeen line. Over to Clooney, who has a go. Bonner parries and Buckley shoots wide. That was nearly something to cheer the Dons fans, but now Celtic attack. Fallon eludes centre-half Young, but goalie Martin smothers the ball. There's plenty of thrills in the first half, but still no score at the halfway mark. Play resumes with Leggett taking a corner for Aberdeen. Still quite unruffled, the Celtic defence works the ball away and off they go again. Mocken centres the ball, but Young puts it into his own net. A gift goal for Celtic. Aberdeen open up now and fight back grimly. Hamilton passes to Buckley, who beats Bonner, and there's the equaliser. Both goals scored within a minute. Aberdeen hammered away for another. Their half-backs, with Glenn, number 6 to the fore, help in the attack. Celtic swing play round and manage to force a corner. Here's another chance. Left winger Mocken takes it, and Martin has his work cut out to keep the net clear. Celtic's forwards get it again, but they hang on just too long, and the Dons, by solid, incisive tackling, gain possession. Back they go towards the Celtic goal. Buckley races in, but his shot hits the side netting. About 30 minutes after half-time, the Celtic go away on another raid. Fernie forces the ball through to Fallon, who left foots it into the net. 2-1 to Celtic is how it ends, and Jock Stein receives the Winners' Cup. Celtic, as well as topping the league, take the cup home for the 17th time in their history.
I want to talk about some of these guys that you played with, Sean. Let's deal with Jock Stein, first of all, the player.
Yeah.
What was he like?
Jock was a good player, very steady, one-sided, very one-sided, left-sided, but he did use his knee and the right leg. But he knew the game very well. And when they signed Jock, some of the players used to say, Tully was a hell of a man, sure Charlie Lord rest him. Imagine bringing an old guy like that. And so he used to say, Charlie, I says, you'd wonder at that. Little did Charlie realise that I was 7 months older than Jock. But I wasn't going to tell him. But Jock arrived at Celtic Park, and I think the idea was really that he was look after the younger players. But he got into the first team, and he played there, very successful, great in the air, very strong left side, and knew the game from A to B.
What about Bobby Collins?
Bobby, outstanding inside forward, Bobby Collins. A wee bit of a temper, but sometimes a good thing when you're playing football. And Bobby is one of the best inside forwards that I ever played with. Small, muscular, strong, good temper. Right, it's good temperament for the game. But I must say, I've always admired Bobby.
Smiler Mocken.
Smiler was a very strong left-sided player and very versatile. Could play in the wing and could also play full back. In fact, when I got injured, I went out of the team, retired from the playing side, nearly took over at left back, and he was equally as good as a defender as he was as a forward.
And of course you played with the two McPhails. Let's start with the older John Hookie.
John was a character. Great player, great skill, versatile again. Could play centre forward, play centre half, which he did, and at top level. And but not a great trainer. Not a great trainer, John.
There's been a few of those.
Great pal at Charlie's. And the two of them, you know, they like their drink. And, you know, we used to peacock on myself, Bertie Lord rest him, and we used to, good trainers. And Tully said, "Geez, you look at you boys, that will make you better players." Well, Charlie was some boy, so he's a character.
And then Billy, of course, Sean, centre forward.
We're a wee bit short up front, and Billy was signed from Clyde, and good centre forward, great in the air. He's one of the few players that could hang in the air and get over a ball, and knock it right down to a colleague's feet. And tremendous in the air. Scored a lot of goals for Celtic. In fact, I think he scored 3 in the 7-1 game.
And then there was Willie Fernie, of course, master dribbler, eh?
Willie, master dribbler. Beautiful movement on the ball, great, very fit. And in fact, even in practice matches, we're playing against him in practice games during the week. Well, you had to kick him to get the ball off. Oh, Willie was a great character, nice guy.
And Bertie Peacock, another Irishman.
Peacock, another great reader of the game, Bertie Peacock, one of the best readers of the games I've played with, because we used to discuss the game. We used to go to Ferrari's for lunch after training, and Ferrari's restaurant, top of Buchanan Street. And it was Willie, Bertie Peacock and myself. We used to be always together, because at that time none of the three of us took a drink. Where most of the other boys did. They liked their drink. You know, just a refreshment. But Willie was one of the best, great balance. He's one of the best dribblers I've ever played with, or have seen since.
And I've left probably the biggest name of that era to the end, Charles Patrick Tully himself.
Oh, Charlie was a one-off. Charlie was absolutely a one-off. I always remember one game. Charlie, great skill, and the spectators loved him. They loved him. Particularly the jungle. We used to call it the jungle, and if they liked you, you were all right. If they didn't fancy you, their great judgment of a player, if they didn't fancy you, you weren't at the club long. And with Charlie, he used to stand on it. He sat on the ball, and opponents used to be afraid to tackle him. Charlie, come on. Charlie was, I think he was a one-off. Not a great trainer, great skill, great control of the ball. And I remember playing against Rangers. Rangers had good players at that time. Big Woodburn centre half, Big Corky right back. And Big Corky, you know, Corky didn't like George Young. Nice, great guy off the field, because we used to be very friendly off the field, even though we played hard against each other. But Corky used to say, Jesus, I hate playing against that guy Tully. You don't know what he's going to do with the ball.
Sean, in 1956, after quite a number of years of difficulty with the League Cup, you got to the final against Partick Thistle. They took you to a replay.
That's right.
But nice to get your hands in another trophy.
Well, it certainly was, yeah. And we hadn't been playing too well that season. But that was, what year was that again?
56.
56. That's right. Won the League Cup. Actually, we were in 4 League Cup finals, because the following year.
Well, that was the one everybody remembers, isn't it?
I think we're an aging side, actually. All the players were getting old. They knew it themselves. Other people didn't know them because they told lies about their ages. So
were you included in that group? Or?
Well, I was coming on, but there was guys older than me in the field and the team, which was rather amazing, because in 57 I'd be 35 years of age, which wasn't old because I was very fit. But I discovered there was 1 or 2 guys in the team much older than me. I was delighted to find that out.
The amazing thing about that particular day against Rangers was that you had won the first Old Firm encounter of the season, the league match you had won, but yet all the papers I've read before the game seemed to fancy their chances more than Celtic's.
That's right.
How did you feel?
Well, we were I say we're confident in our ability to put up a good show against Rangers. Rangers had a good side, but all of them were getting on too, same as ourselves. But we went to the field. You've got to be confident when you're playing football. You know that yourself, Jim. If you have no confidence in your own ability, you might as well stay in the dressing room. But we were quietly confident. But needless to say, we didn't think, you know, that we're going to take 7 goals off them, which we did. The defence, and I felt sorry. Rangers had signed a centre half from Queen's Park. What's his name was?
John Valentine.
Valentine. And I felt sorry for the boy, because usually a centre half gets a bit of cover from the full backs. At that time, you had no sweeper, but the full backs played diagonally. Anything attacking on the right side, the right back would come in. Outsiders attacking, the right back would come in from the other side, wing half and drop back, which gave the centre half a bit of cover. But the 2 backs for Rangers were Eric Caldo and Bobby Shearer, and they played wide, played square, which meant that the poor boy Valentine, he had no cover at all. And we played, and what killed him, really killed the boy, was Sammy Wilson played up alongside Billy McPhail, which meant there was 2 forwards going through on the centre half, and with his backs wide, the poor centre half had no chance at all. I felt sorry for him, Valentine, because he never, I don't think he ever played another game for Rangers.
Hampden in the sun, Celtic 7, Rangers 1. All the people shout and scream, 'cause they want a revival scene. Well, if Ernie did a dance, and he gave the Jers no chance. He gave Big McPhail a ball, and he stuck it in the hanging pail. Oh, Hampden in the sun, Celtic 7, Rangers 1. All the people shout and scream, 'cause they want a revival scene.
Sean, you had a very special career. From 50 years on now, how would you look back to that time as a player?
As a player? Well, I enjoyed every game. It was a dream of mine, you know, to play for Celtic. And when I went there, I found that I enjoyed every moment of it. And sometimes you dream something and you never fulfill it. And it's not as good as you thought it was going to be. But everything that happened at Celtic Park for me was great. Day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year. And I would do it all over again. I'd never change anything.